everybody? Welcome to The Point. I'm Eric Mitchell. This is a special live edition of the show. We're talking election 2020. As you've seen in the last 30 minutes, Wisconsin officially by the AP has called Wisconsin for Joe Biden. Within seconds of that, the president's legal team that's just sitting around apparently in Wisconsin demanded a recount. Traditionally, Wisconsin on recounts, they find very little information, but I don't know a lot about elections, so I figured I will go find not just America's global resource for this, or America's resource for this. Marines, we add globe to things and we get excited. But we have a global legal expert here on politics, helping with more elections than I can shake a fist at. You've probably seen our guest if you watch Netflix and are addicted to anything election, The Great Hack, which is on Netflix, and the whistleblower. I love calling you a whistleblower, by the way, Brittany. The whistleblower from Cambridge Analytica. What a cool title. And attorney, and basically, you are a political expert. There's political analyst, and then there's political experts. You've worked how many presidential elections around the globe?
I have worked on over 20 different presidential and prime ministerial elections in over 20 different countries, and now on 7 U.S. presidential elections, 3 for the Democrats, 3 for the Republicans, and 1 independent campaign.
So you don't know anything of what we're talking about. You're not qualified. Okay, cool. That's what you're saying. Absolutely.
I started out pretty young. I got involved in politics when I was 14 years old on my first U.S. presidential, and couldn't stop myself from continuing to get involved, not just in America, but around the world. The way that political systems work, the way that elections work has always been fascinating to me, and protecting the integrity of those elections and being able to verify the integrity of those elections is now one of my main bodies of work.
So let's lead with that. The big issue we're having, well, one person is having, is that the votes haven't been all counted yet, which we knew was going to happen. This wasn't like yesterday we found out, hey, by the way, it's going to take a couple days to count these ballots. North Carolina, as we went on air, reported that they don't expect a final count till the 12th or 13th. Now, mind you, North Carolina has the largest Army base and Marine Corps base in the nation is out of there, so we have a lot of deployed folks who are protecting our freedom. They have a right to have their absentee ballots counted for. They are Americans. You've worked with Americans abroad, and their votes also count. So why are we still using, and I'm holding paper in my hand just to add this, why are we still using paper when we can buy cars and everything else? We use our phones. Why are we still using paper? Because all of this could be solved like that, except for maybe the absentee ballots of those abroad, I get. But here in the States, why are we still using this?
There is absolutely no reason that any government or individual that believes in the integrity of democracy and our ability to verify results and make sure that every vote is counted, that wouldn't be in favor of upgrading our systems with 21st century technology. We should be using digital and e-voting, blockchain voting systems. These systems have already been tested in 5 different states. They're being used by the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, even the Independent National Union, which just ran the first Independent National Convention, the INC, last weekend, used blockchain voting in order to vote through their resolutions. And so I think that not only is this a proven technology, but it's based upon a lot of the same encryption and technology principles and advanced predictive modeling that runs our economy and the stock market, that runs our healthcare, that literally runs almost every single part of our lives except for voting. So go ahead, Eric.
No, it's just funny. I'm just chuckling here at your answer. Sorry. I just forgive me for just laughing because I'm going everything else, like Wall Street, all these important. Sorry, I'm just chuckling as you're answering that. Continue on. Sorry, I apologize. I just start laughing because I just think of it's amazing that we're suffering through this and we do everything else.
There are few developed countries that are using anything other than technology to run most decision making at all times, most record keeping, most transactions. And so the fact that our voting systems in America are one of the only parts of the way that our government runs that we have not yet upgraded gives me grave concern, specifically because if you are using pieces of paper, humans are allowed to throw away some of those ballots. If you use pieces of paper, recounts can be demanded. If you use pieces of paper, it is possible that you can manipulate election results through individual and human activity. So if we are not using technology today, who is it in our government that is demanding the lack of integrity in our elections? Because that's what this looks like to me.
So, Brittany, let me ask you this. So, as we also went to Eric, just to make this even more fun, the White House, the Trump campaign, has said that they have started the legal process. Now, you are an attorney, and I am not. The legal process to stop the ballot counting in Michigan, which is rather close for the president. And Biden already took Wisconsin, so the walls are caving in on President Trump quite quickly. Arizona, they haven't called it officially yet. The AP still waiting for that. I don't know what they're waiting for. The numbers look pretty clear. Nevada still looks very Biden. I mean, it's close. I mean, we didn't think this was going to be a cakewalk. But how can we stop counting? How can anyone legally stop the counting of votes? If they're postmarked and following the rules and the Constitution, how is anybody able to go into a courtroom and go, we don't want these, stop counting ballots?
You're not able to do that, actually. It's not legal at all. It's an undermining of civil rights. Every American's vote deserves to count as long as they have followed the rules and done it correctly. Another reason why I advocate for technology to be used to upgrade our systems, because a lot of people and a lot of votes of theirs get completely thrown out, millions of them every election, because they've filled it out incorrectly. Whereas an application could say, there's an error, go back, you forgot to fill this out, or you clicked the wrong thing. And you could make sure that your electoral results are verified before you are done with the transaction, unlike a piece of paper where you're hoping it gets counted by a human being on the other end. Yeah. So I think we have huge issues right now with legality of stopping votes, with the undermining of the foundation of our democracy and our civil rights to participate in elections. And I'm completely shocked that the president would even go there.
So let me ask you this, Brittany, because I mean, I watched Greatest Hack, probably like a lot of people who are watching right now. We've watched it. It was alarming. You brought to attention a lot of things, and that was the 2016 election, and you were a big player in the 2016 election. Let's just call it like we see it. How does it feel looking at, on the other side of this? You're looking at now I think that election was a little bit easier for President Trump because Hillary was pretty easy not to like. I mean, she didn't have all the votes. I come from this as a veteran perspective. Not liking Hillary was a little easier because we had Benghazi, where we had a lot of guys left behind. We take that personal as vets. It's sad, but true. People were like, I'm not voting for it because of that. Now this year it's different.
Seriously, I was in a similar position. I used to live and work in Libya, in Tripoli. So that also colored the way that I saw the 2016 election as well, just recognizing that.
Yeah, so how is this different for you when you look at it now, where you're like, we've had 4 years of this guy. I love that we've had a lot of conversations offline talking about like it. You know, it's funny, you work for one and you see and you do your job, you get him elected president, you know, you're part of that amazing team. And now you're sitting here looking at this guy and he's completely lost his marbles. I mean, he declared himself a winner of an election that is not done. They're not even done counting ballots. And he's like, I won. We're going to quit counting ballots. I mean, where do we go from here? And first off is the first question, how does it feel being on the other side of the coin now, right? Here's 2016, now we're in 2020.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I mean, everything that you just mentioned is one of the reasons why I became a whistleblower in the first place, because I had the backroom access in order to see that the 2016 elections were not conducted legitimately. So there was plenty of, if you want to call it cheating, if you want to call it breaking the law, that happened in order to put Donald Trump in office in the first place. And so we're now in 2020, we're in an even worse situation than 2016. And there are many factors that contributed to this, especially that since I blew the whistle in 2018, the movement for data protection, regulation of social media, prevention of foreign elections, intervention, and disinformation, all of those issues have not been solved. We have not been able to pass national legislation or regulation for in order to protect our elections. There have been small policy changes that are too little too late and not even really paying lip service to the problem. And now we're stuck in a year where the majority of America is living a completely digital life for the first time ever, completely unprepared to be more vulnerable and more targeted than ever before. So the types of micro-targeting, behavioral influence and persuasion campaigns, and disinformation and fake news especially, has had more of an audience than any other year. Yeah. So therefore, I've seen repeatedly that voters that have been misinformed, that they are quoting pieces of doctored news segments, that they have been watching fake news and taking it as fact, and therefore we have a huge problem. We know that a lot of what was used in 2016, from voter suppression tactics to fear-mongering using incitement of violence and racial hatred, that has even increased in this election. So I think, if anything, what we're going to see in this 2020 election is massive momentum for electoral protection and change, even more than what we have seen over the past few years.
I love it. And before you go, I know we got a couple of minutes, but I like to take some questions from our crowd. We have one of our daily viewers, I'm just making up words while I go, daily viewers, Linda Dobbs. She asks you, why aren't states and counties not using this type of voting technology that you're talking about? Why is that so difficult? You would think, well, I live on the West Coast, so I'm like, we need that. I mean, I live in the first state that has mail-in. We're the first ones that have done 100% mail-in. We just drop our ballot in front of a library and it's done, it's safe. I mean, and there's been no news last 48 hours of fraud. Now, I did see before you and I went on, Steven Crowder, of course, the GOP always has their mouthpieces that are going to come out, and he says that he now has evidence of voter fraud in Michigan. I highly doubt it, because I think they're just reaching for whatever they can. So why can't we get that? Like Linda asked, why can't we get this technology everywhere? Why is the fight to use paper?
Thank you so much for that question, and I'm going to answer it in two different ways. Cool. I think the people who are fighting to use paper are those who are scared of losing and would prefer the opportunity to manipulate election results. There is literally no other reason why we wouldn't upgrade to technology. A lot of the arguments come from, oh, well, it could be hacked, it isn't safe. Well, we rely our entire economy, all of our money, Wall Street, our global financial system, on technology, and we have somehow found enough cybersecurity experts and technologists in order to build those systems and make them operate with integrity, right? So I think it's pretty easy for us to do that for voting, where there are a lot less people that participate than in daily financial transactions and global financial trades. So I think this is really simple for us to do. We have now had 5 different states that have tested out blockchain technology specifically for veterans or active duty military living abroad, which is really exciting to make it easier for them, where all they need to do is download an app and they can get a verified result of exactly who and what they voted for, and that their vote has been counted and that it has been registered, which is really exciting for people who are already in a stressful situation away from home and really want to be able to participate in their democracies because they're already overseas fighting for us, right? Yep. So that has been successful in 5 different states. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, as well as the Independent National Union, are using this type of technology. So all we need to do is make sure that there are government budgets to make sure that we can build this to the level that it needs to be in order to run a primary or a general election. And I think we can get there. We just need the budgetary approval, and we need the willingness of Congress to move forward.
And there's our problem. We want Congress to do stuff. I can tell you, as a veteran, it's difficult to get them to do anything unless it benefits them directly. Here's my final question for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time because I'm sure we'll have you back on, and I know we have other things that we could do. Linda, by the way, just responded that Ohio uses that technology that we're talking about. So thank God it's apparently working. They did get their votes accurate last night. They were declared pretty quickly. I mean, Biden started off with a lead, but they started counting it. Let me ask you this. You are a millennial, and you've done some incredible things. Your bio, you've done more at your age than most people have done in a lifetime. Affecting change, affecting elections. What does that mean to you? I know I have a 16-year-old who thinks you're amazing because of what you do and the fact of your age, how you have literally caused change, not just here in America, globally. You're making a difference. You're a very strong, powerful, female who's out there making a difference, where there's the loudmouths, the Rush Limbaughs, the Sean Hannitys of the world that are just sitting here just spewing just hatred and vile made up facts that, kind of go with the guy that they love. He makes up things too. He thinks he's a doctor, which he's clearly not either. What drives you? I think that's the question I have. I know that's not political, but what drives you to be this? You're 14. You start into politics. You know a lot. I'm sitting here going, keep talking. I text you all the time. I'm like, tell me more. You're like an endless computer. You're like what's his name on CNN who's doing the map. That guy knows more about hold on, let's go check. And I'm like, this is fascinating by county, by the way. What drives you? What's next for you? This is just amazing.
For me, I have always been incredibly passionate about positive social impact, about upholding human rights, about equality and transparency. And those values have always been based upon what I use to make my decisions and what projects I get involved in. Surprisingly, even getting into Cambridge Analytica, I was writing my PhD on genocide and crimes against humanity prevention, and I needed to learn more about advanced predictive analytics in order to finish my doctoral thesis. So every single decision I've ever made has been based off of that. And I've always really seen that elections integrity is one of the core parts of a functioning government. If we're going to believe in our governance, whether it be democracy or another form that allows us to vote, we need to know that our vote counts in order to be motivated to participate. If our government is supposed to be of, for, and by the people, where we actually believe that our positions, our issues, what we care about, what is going to be good for our families is actually going to be heard, then we need to have integrity of our elections. And when I was really young, I thought that maybe one of my dream jobs would be to become a United Nations election monitor. So that was a job opening that I used to constantly scroll for on the United Nations website. And so it's really interesting and such an honor to be in a position where I can actually help legislators and regulators to figure out where are the holes in upholding the integrity of our democracy? What are the technologies that we actually have to use? What are the voter education programs that we actually need to roll out to make sure that people are informed, that they understand how not to be vulnerable online, so that they have media literacy, so they can spot fake news and disinformation and hacking and phishing attempts, so that they can use emotional intelligence online, especially on social media, how they can actually participate in a democracy in a healthy way and make sure they're not being overly influenced by foreign or domestic forces. Obviously, there's more domestic disinformation that comes out in our elections than foreign, and I think that's very important. But also, especially now that I'm an independent and working very strongly for the independence movement, I think it's very important that I am not a Democrat or a Republican. And during this vote, I'm proud to say that I actually voted for all parties up and down the ticket. I voted for independents and libertarians and Democrats and Republicans, depending on the issues that they represented and how fit they were to govern, not along party lines. And so I really believe in the transparency and legitimacy of our voting system. I'm not here to advocate for one party or the other. I'm not here specifically to discredit the president. I'm only calling out breaking of the law, unethical practices, or different issues that I see within the system that are making it more difficult for our democracy to function and to flourish.
That was a good answer. You win when you ask that question. You win, and you know a lot. And I'm sitting here going, I could keep this interview going because I'm like, okay, you've testified in front of, I think, everyone. We got you with the Mueller report, but I don't want to take up any more of your time. I actually have to get back to work for clients like you and get you guys more media because you guys are in need. But everybody else, Brittany, thank you for joining us. If you want to learn more about Brittany and what she does, you could check out Own Your Data. That hashtag own your data is awesome, and you could sign up. You have something going with change.org, which is amazing. And it goes into it. Go watch The Greatest Hack if you haven't watched it. It's okay, it's concerning. It's like, holy crap, there's a lot of bad things going on. I know you drop breadcrumbs all over the place sharing this illegal behavior. That's just fact. Again, it's something that needs to be shared. Facts need to be shared. Data needs to be shared. Accusing people of cheating and then you cheating is kind of ironic. And there's a lot of foreign powers that are involved. Being in the military, I understand what's going on. You know as well as I do. There's a lot of bad people out there that want to do bad things to our country, and they can affect us in politics and everything else. But boy, did you ring the alarm about all the things that they can control on Facebook. Holy Toledo, I can tell you that. I was like, wow, I saw some of the ads that you were showing when you were on that special. I was like, holy crap, that's scary. Anyways, I want to thank you for joining us today. We'll have you back as soon as we can. Good luck to you. Hopefully this election comes out the way we all want it. And then maybe in 4 years, we can have a serious consideration to have a third party, which we desperately need. I know you worked on an amazing campaign that is just doing real things and working with real people. And I'm not talking about Kanye, who also is running in 2024. But we do need a third party and actually have them do well. I think our country is ready for that. This election, before any, I believe, really waked in the, we need a third option, because the first two were just old crusty white dudes. And we've seen where that's got us. Anyways, I want to thank you, Brittany, so much for joining us. Everybody else will be back later with another segment, but we want to thank our guest today, Brittany Kaiser, for joining us. Everybody else, we'll see you real soon.